Welcome in to the latest edition of the Pump Fake, everybody. I am Jarrett Bailey. That is my friend JP Acosta from SB Nation. Week 16 is coming up. Week 15 now behind us. We're going to recap all the big stories that took place this past weekend, preview what's to come, have a Christmas movie draft. JP, good to see you.
Good to see you, man. It feels like it feels weird that the NFL regular season's wrapping up. Like it
Always
doesn't
goes
feel
by
like
so
it should be
fast.
that way. Yeah, it feels like it's gone by way too fast.
I feel like it always does. What happened in week one that felt like it was yesterday? Yeah, just feel the Lions beat the Chiefs. Brian Branch had a pick six because Kadarius Toney had a ball bounce off his hands, and then this past weekend, the Patriots get an interception because a ball bounced off of Kadarius Toney's hands. So some things never change in the NFL. We'll start in the AFC though with the Buffalo Bills, who coming off a big win against the Kansas City Chiefs, then go home and defeat the Dallas Cowboys, and not only defeat them, but beat them down, JP Acosta. Aside from a garbage time touchdown scored by CeeDee Lamb in the fourth quarter, the Bills were winning 31-3. Josh Allen only had 94 yards of passing. They ran the ball down the Dallas Cowboys' throats, and credit to Joe Brady for, and we talked about this last night with Chase Thomas on his pod, but I don't know if that was the game plan going in, and you shouted out. It definitely should have been. But if it was not, credit to Brady, credit to the Bills for realizing, oh, okay, they can't stop the run. Let's just keep doing it until they can stop it. And lo and behold, James Cook having the game of his life, having a pair of touchdowns, like 179 yards on the ground. And the Buffalo Bills, man, they are, 10 days ago, they were left for dead at 6-6, having to run this gauntlet to even have a snowball's chance in hell of getting into the playoffs. And now, 8-6, coming off two big wins, and their next two games are against Easton Stick and Bailey Zappi. They look good.
You see this right here? This is exactly what they did on Sunday. And I was so happy. They ran for 276 yards. They had a 58% success rate on all runs. That's pretty good. You can win games by just running the ball down a team's throat. But the way that they did it is more intriguing to me. It wasn't just like stretch runs or outside zone runs. They're getting the tackles involved, getting Deion Dawkins, Spencer Brown pulling on those long trap plays. They were using the threat of Josh Allen and the RPO. They weren't going to throw the RPO, but it was that threat. It was the numbers. They were using that fast motion that the Dolphins did against Tennessee, where they would wrap Devin Achane on the backside before snapping the ball. They did that against Dallas because Dallas plays a lot of man, and they like to have their numbers to the strength. They like to have their front set to the field, I believe. So they had the Mike to the field and then the Will to the backside. But every time they would flip, they would have to switch roles. So they had to try and switch up at the last second, completely cross their wires. It was a very impressive, very well schemed out game plan. I was not a huge, I think Joe Brady's going to completely revamp this offense. And to an extent, I don't think the bones of it has changed. I just think I think the timing of the play calling. It's one thing to draw up good plays, it's another thing to know when to call them. So I think Joe Brady has a better timing of when to be like, oh, we're running the ball for 5 yards to carry. Just do that. Like, we don't have to throw it at all in this game. So I was really impressed with how they looked on the ground.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the big questions about Buffalo, especially early on in the year, was similar to what the questions were with the Chiefs last year. Like, it didn't matter if they were good at running the ball or if they could be good at running the ball. They just didn't want to. And whether that's true or not, that was the popular perception, was that they just didn't want to run the ball. And similar to the Chiefs last year, like the Chiefs last year were the worst team in the NFL when it came down to 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, because they just always wanted to throw it. They didn't want to pass it. And Buffalo, I think, was too one-dimensional in their offense as well before firing Ken Dorsey. And like James Cook has been the biggest beneficiary of this since Joe Brady took over, where he's no longer a role guy. He's a featured part of what they do offensively. 362 all-purpose yards over the past two games against Kansas City and Dallas, 3 total touchdowns. Even the last week against Kansas City, we talked about how they utilize motion when they had a receiver come across the line of scrimmage and then go out to the flat. And then they had Dalton Kincaid clear out, and then that opened up the middle of the field where Cook just ran up the seam for that first touchdown of the game. Like, it's just stuff like that where we weren't seeing that with Buffalo before Joe Brady took over, and he's done a masterful job. And in terms of the run game, like, it wasn't just a James Cook game. This was a Mitch Morse game. This was a Spencer Brown game. I think I saw you tweet that this is a Spencer Brown legacy game. Like, he played fantastic.
Ty Johnson was just hauling ass in the run game. I had no idea he could do that. That's the backup running back. They incorporated Reggie Gilliam a lot more. Quentin Morris was on the field a lot more. They could tell, like, you could tell going into that game, we were like, oh, we're going to try and run the ball at you in this game and see what you can do about it. And Dallas really just – I've had my issues with how Dallas structures their defense, but missing Jonathan Hankins does hurt in that game specifically.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, 276 on your head in the run game, that's not great.
Yeah, and Orlovsky broke it down really well in Get Up yesterday, pointing out how Buffalo was pretty much attacking it. They were letting Micah Parsons come in on the backside unblocked, and they were just trying to run away from him and then have, the offensive lineman pull and go at, if it was the nickel backer or whomever it may be. So they didn't really necessarily, like, if they saw where's 11, let's go the other way, and it worked out on all night. So now we're in a situation in the AFC where, okay, Buffalo's still not holding a playoff spot because Jake Browning, the Bengals keep winning, the Colts keep winning. They're all 8-6. The Texans just won with Case Keenum. So we've got these 4 8-6 teams. Denver and Pittsburgh dropped down to 7-7. If Buffalo wins these next 2 games, I think that they are in a really good position to get at least a wild card spot. I think that one of these other 3 teams are going to trip up. But we're also in a spot where the Miami Dolphins play the Dallas Cowboys and Baltimore Ravens in the next 2 weeks. If Miami slips up a little bit, week 18, I mean, we could see the Buffalo Bills rally all the way back and potentially win the AFC East.
That's going to be fun. I don't think Miami's gotten enough credit for how they've turned around that defense this year. Of course, everybody's going to look at the Will Levis comeback, which was phenomenal by Will Levis, and be like, oh, the defense isn't that good. No, this team has fully turned it around. And when everybody is healthy, they can turn up that pass rush anytime possible. They have a really talented secondary. And I just keep coming back to, man, that offense, it's so hard to game plan for that offense week in and week out. I think they're going to beat Dallas this weekend. I'm just not very confident in their rules against motion and man coverage when that's what the Miami Dolphins do. Like, that's their entire game. We're going to motion you, and if you play man coverage, you better hope you're as fast as Tyreek Hill. This is a very different game plan for Stephon Gilmore against Tyreek Hill than it is A.J. Brown. Deron Bland against Jalen Waddle, hey, good luck. This could be a very, very telling game for the Cowboys, but I still have a lot of faith in this Dolphins team. I think the defense has finally rounded into form when they're healthy, and it's just a pain in the ass to defend them on offense because there's so much they throw at you.
Yeah, and the defense obviously getting Jalen Ramsey back earlier than expected when they did. That certainly helped. And you pointed this out last night. Fangio defenses, it usually takes them a little bit to kind of get fully in swing, but when they do, the dividends really, really pay off.
Yeah, it's much more of a, it's going to take time, especially transitioning from where they were last year with Josh Boyer and kind of being an in-your-face, man-only, cover 3. So now you're playing a lot of quarters, quarter, half. It's going to take time. But now we get to see them fully healthy. CeeDee Lamb against Jalen Ramsey is going to be so fun to watch. It's going to be he's going to travel. I think he's going to travel with CeeDee Lamb the entire game. It's going to be a good one. I believe, is that game in Dallas or in Miami?
I think it's in Miami because they're doing the Aqua throwbacks.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a can the Cowboys do it on a cold, rainy night in Stoke right now? Hey, you're able to win all these games at home, but on the road you don't look as good. Especially that defense, especially the run defense. Can the run defense do it in these types of moments? Because when we get to playoff time, you're gonna have to go through San Francisco again. You're gonna have to try and beat Philly again. those teams are very much willing to just take the air out of the ball and sit on you for 4 quarters.
Especially like, do you think that if Miami can go like 4 wide and keep them in, like if Dallas is out of base and has an extra, more defensive backs on the field, like they can just run the ball down their throats until they stop. Like I think if you can spread out Dallas and just run the ball consistently, there's going to be very little chance that Dallas keeps up. Like if it's similar to what the Bills just did in the run game.
Well, the thing kind of with Dallas's defense is they're never in base. Their base is dime, basically. They're playing Marquise Bell, who was a safety at linebacker. Their dime and nickel is their base, but they play so light. They play with so many safeties on the field that their base, they are built for second and long and third and long. So this is going to be a game for Miami where you got to stay ahead of the sticks. Stay ahead. Use that run game. I think they're going to hammer the 20 personnel, the pony personnel with Raheem Mostert and Devin Achane. It's so cool seeing how they use them because, like, it's not just get 2 backs in the backfield at the same time. It's like Raheem Mostert's going to be tight to the line of scrimmage, or he might run downfield on a route. They did that against Tennessee. Tua just missed Achane on a go route using Tyreek Hill to run it out, and the corner jumped on it. And Achane, if he caught that ball, was going to be housing it. So it's going to be those types of things. I'm very intrigued to see how Dallas defends because they just have speed at every single position. And when you leverage that speed as well as Mike McDaniel does, it's going to be a problem.
We'll stick in the NFC East though, because Philadelphia Eagles, they've lost 3 consecutive games, and Drew Lock put that shit on last night in the final drive for the Seattle Seahawks, hitting Jackson Smith and Jigba for the game-winning touchdown. And now Philadelphia, past 3 games, Jalen Hurts hasn't looked good. He hasn't thrown a touchdown in this 3-game losing streak. And then the post-game presser saying that he thinks that some people on the team might just lack commitment. Right now, it's December 19th, JP Acosta. This is not the time to have these kinds of issues, these kinds of question marks. They just demoted Sean Desai and promoted Matt Patricia and found out really quick how that went. I feel like there's a lot of panic buttons that were pressed with the Eagles over the past week because of a losing streak, and now there's going to be even more panic because of the repercussions of that, what we just saw against Seattle.
So I think this is kind of the boiling point for a couple of things. First of all, they missed Shane Steichen a whole lot more than we initially thought going into this season, and not because like they were running so many varied plays last year. They didn't run a lot of plays last year. It wasn't like some super deep and diverse
concepts were very simple for a Shane Steichen offense.
But it was the way that he dressed them, the way that they had options for everything. You could it's so simple, but the RPOs with the glance routes are a lot more effective in the Eagles offense than the RPOs with the bubbles. I wrote about it earlier today for SB Nation. This offense lacks intention. It lacks reason, it feels like they're just running a collection of plays and not an offense. It's like you're playing Madden and, oh, this looks cool and this looks cool, but there's no reason why you are running those things. So I think they need to figure out why. Why do we do this? What is the goal here with this offense? It can't just be our dudes are better than your dudes. Because while that's true, if your dude's having an off day, or in case of Jalen Hurts, having somewhat of a down year compared to last year, that margin for error closes a lot. So I think they need to go back to the drawing board schematically on offense. Defensively, it's personnel. They don't got the guys this year, especially in the secondary. The back 7 are some of the worst that I've seen from a contending team in a while. It kind of reflects on Howie Roseman's drafting. Like I said yesterday, Howie Roseman hasn't drafted a top 100 corner since, I believe, 2017. And he doesn't draft linebackers early. So that's kind of a reflection of you trying to nickel and dime your way to you're trying to nickel and dime your way to ensuring the spine of the defense. But I don't think he understood that the middle of the field is the most valuable portion of the field. And if you don't have guys there, think about all of the contending teams in the NFL, which are probably only like two, what do those teams have? They have great middle linebacker play. They have great inside linebacker, great safety play. They insulate the spine of the defense and force you to take those high leverage throws on the outside. They don't have that. The Eagles don't have that right now. So now they're just spraying. Teams are spraying everywhere. And look, man, letting Jonathan Gannon walk to hire Sean Desai, then to demote Sean Desai and promote Matt Patricia is the worst vibe shift I've ever seen. I just don't understand how you can go that entire final drive in Seattle playing man coverage to get toasted every time you were in cover one. Like it's not conducive. It's not a smart game plan. Like it just feels like the defense has just always been a step behind this year.
To me, it feels like we're about to see Matt Patricia get Jungle Boyed by Darius Slay's CM Punk sooner than later if this continues, because like with their personnel, and I do agree, like you look at the 49ers, like, they have a Fred Warner who can patrol the middle. You look at Buffalo, even though Matt Milano's not there right now, they've had a bunch of different guys rotate in that have played really well in that spot. The Ravens with Roquan Smith. So the teams need to adjust, especially in today's NFL, where you already pointed out the best offenses just eat the middle of the field and find ways to eat in the middle of the field. Whether it be Detroit, whether it be the 49ers, whether it be Baltimore now or so. And the fact that their solution right now was signing Shaq Leonard, who, no disrespect whatsoever to Shaq Leonard, looked not good in the snaps that we did see him play last night. And I think there's a reason why the Colts weren't keen on having him on the field so much. So that will be a big aspect of their game to watch throughout the rest of the season. I guess my next question is like, maybe not even a question. My next point is like, it still feels like, okay, they're still likely going to be one of the final four teams in the NFC. Very well could still be one of the final two. Like on their best day, nobody's lining up to play the Eagles. But, you got a team like Detroit who could be a fun player. If they ran into the Rams right now, I think that could be, a sneaky game where they could let the Rams take advantage of them just because we know how good the Rams offense has been this year. Stafford looks really good. But I don't know. I don't think that they have the right now to take anybody seriously after what we've seen for the past month.
I think they have shown flaws during this losing skid that's kind of like, oh, that's not great. Like, it's like, it's concerning when the offense constricts itself to only screen passes and deep passes, because that's not an efficient way to run an offense. That's not going to be conducive to a successful offense. Like at that point, you're basically touchdown to check down. That's the Denver Broncos right now. Like the Broncos are living in touchdown to check down mode. So something has got to change, but I don't know how much it's going to change. Because like you said, they're going to make the playoffs. They're probably going to batter whoever they play in the first round in the wild card. They could even still win the division. But it's not about just making the playoffs for the Eagles now. It's not about just winning a game in the playoffs. Your goal is to win the Super Bowl. You went to the Super Bowl last year. The goal is to win the Super Bowl. And I don't know if they can win the Super Bowl with their offense looking like this schematically and their defense looking like this personnel-wise.
Are they still, in your mind, the biggest threat to the 49ers in the NFC, or is somebody else overtaking them?
I'm going to say yes, because I think they have the dudes offensively to – like if you're going to attack the 49ers defense, you got to take shots downfield. And that is something that the Eagles will do. The Eagles have shown they are unafraid of throwing at Charvarius Ward or the other corner for the 49ers. They will throw at those guys because they believe Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown are better than those guys, which, hey, depends on who you ask. They're probably true. But I don't know if that gap is as close as I thought it would be going into the season.
Part of me really wants to see a team like Detroit run into the 49ers in the playoffs, because with Ben Johnson's Frankenstein's monster of like Adam Gase offense, a little bit of West Coast, a lot like him putting all that together. Obviously, we know how good it's really been with Goff and with Amon-Ra, with Jameer Gibbs and Laporta. We talk about having guys, and you mentioned earlier about the Eagles not really having a rhyme or reason offensively. Well, the Lions have the guys, and they got a rhyme or reason. There's definitely a proof of concept there with the Detroit Lions, and I don't know if they beat them, but I think that they would keep it a hell of a lot closer than people would initially think going in, and I think it would be fun to see two, I would say, pretty similarly constructed teams where they have a nice collection of running backs, a good tight end, a quarterback that is playing probably above his skill level because of the play caller and the offense that he has around him. It just comes down to, can Detroit's defense do anything to slow down what the 49ers have offensively? And that is where, it would have to be all or nothing, really, because I don't see it going. It's either, oh my goodness, the Detroit Lions are having the game of their lives right now, or oh hell, they're down 30. It would be an in-between type thing if they did face off, in my mind.
So I kind of want to see the Rams against the Niners. I want to, for one reason, that is Matthew Stafford is playing some of the best ball I've ever seen him play.
Yeah.
And the Rams have two receivers that they believe are better than everybody else. And they can design ways to get those receivers open. The way that they use motion to attack leverage and spacing, I would want to see that matchup of the 49ers defense against the Rams offense. Now, the 49ers offense against the Rams defense, probably not going to be as probably going to be a little a speed bump moment.
Yeah.
But
well, we saw what happened earlier in the year. I think it was week 2 or 3 they played each other.
Week 2, it was real close.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. So depending, I think that the 49ers are probably going to rest their starters in the final week of the year. I think that's when they play next is
last week of the year.
So even if they don't rest the entire game, like if Purdy and company play a half, I don't think we're going to see a legitimate number 2 unless they meet again in the playoffs, which I'm all for. Sign me up. That sounds very fun.
I would also not want to game plan for Aaron Donald in a single game sample where it's a win or go home. I wouldn't want to block that guy. I think with the high level of defensive tackle play, we've kind of forgotten that Aaron Donald is he is, in my opinion, the best modern defensive player ever. So seeing that in a one game, against a 49ers offensive line that has been masked a little bit by Kyle Shanahan and that skill position talent, seeing them go up against a legit Hall of Famer, that'd be pretty fun.
It would be. And, we joked about the Rams coming into the year, oh my goodness, you can't name 3 guys on that defense right now. But hell, man, Ahkello Witherspoon has played really well since coming over from Pittsburgh. They've gotten the most out of these young guys where, they're relying a lot on rookies, second-year guys on that side of the ball. And so far, they've answered the bell as best they can. And, I think the Rams are 7-7 right now. Had Brett Rippon not had to play a game, they could very well be 8-6 because that game against Green Bay was still close, even with Rippon under center. So I don't know, man. I don't want to play the Rams right now, especially going up against Kupp and Nacua. And, even if you do try to take them away, you could get beat by Tutu Atwell over the top. This is a nice collection of guys, obviously in a Sean McVay offense with Stafford playing, like you said, playing like a top 5 guy right now, I'd say, in terms of just the things that he's doing. He looks really good. The Rams look really good. We hinted about this last night as well, in terms of, could this be the year that a 7 seed beats a 2? And looking at the playoff pictures right now, in the NFC, where the Rams currently hold the 7 seed, they would face the Cowboys in Dallas if the season ended today. I'm not so sure I wouldn't pick the Rams.
I think because it's in Dallas, I'd probably lean Dallas, but Sean McVay and that offensive brain trust is going to come up with a better game plan than they had the first time they played. So that I think it'd trend more towards a shootout than a blowout.
Right. I think I could see it happening more so on the NFC side than the AFC side, just because the AFC, I don't know, the AFC has been weird because we expected like oh my goodness, all these top teams to just beat the living hell out of each other this year, but like the top team in the AFC right now is Baltimore, who's been really good. Um, and then you look at Miami. Where's their signature win this year? You look at the Chiefs. Okay, they're 9-5 and their receivers stink. The Jaguars have lost 3 in a row. And then the wild card, it's that meme of like Tiger Woods standing next to John Daly, where the top guys are pretty, buttoned up, put together, and then the wild cards, it's Joe Flacco led Browns, it's Jake Browning led Bengals, it's Gardner Minshew and the Colts. Like obviously, if the Bills or Texans get in, that's a little bit more of a favorable team, but the wild card teams in the AFC are just a four loco mixed with firecrackers right now. They are so fun and so chaotic. I don't think that they'll win a game, but damn it, I'm excited to see what kind of noise they would make. I think Cleveland has the best chance of winning out of all of them because they would face Jacksonville today. They already beat Jacksonville once. I think that Cleveland does have a chance of winning a playoff game, but outside of that, man, that's a tough argument to make for the AFC.
So one thing I'll say about the Chiefs, when you said they're 9-5 and the receivers stink, my counterpoint to that is they're 9-5 and their receivers stink. They still, depending on what happens throughout the rest of this regular season, the Chiefs could go in with the 1 seed again. And they're going to get the bye. They get home field advantage. Patrick Mahomes he's never played on the road in a playoff environment. Look, man, I just like we keep saying these things about the Chiefs, and yes, the Chiefs receivers are a problem. But in a 1-game sample size, I do not want to face number 15. Like that's going to be the biggest thing, The wild card teams, I actually think are kind of fun. Like
they're fun, dude.
They're chaotic, but a fun chaotic. Like the Browns,
they're the Spike Dudley of the NFL right now. Like I don't know if they're gonna win, but they're gonna do some crazy shit.
The Browns can absolutely turn a game into a rock fight if they wanted to, because of how good that defense is. And Myles Garrett, best pass rusher in the league. You get him in a 1-game sample size, I don't know how many teams are going to be able to block him. Now they have Joe Flacco. He's kind of unlocked David Njoku in that offense, which has been so cool to watch. And Kevin Stefanski can scheme the heck out of an offense. I think he does not get as much credit for being able to design an offense that can survive 4 QB changes in 1 season, but that offense can still fire on all cylinders. Yeah. I would love to see the Browns, like not only in the playoffs, but against some of those top tier teams. Right now, the Bengals and Colts, look, I don't know. I don't think Jake Browning is like doing anything like. I don't think Jake Browning is like a crazy quarterback, but
no.
I think the way the offense they have schemed that offense to have like knowing they have to widen the margin of error for their quarterback, and also understanding we have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and the defense is still good. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a very interesting team. I love what the Colts are doing offensively. I just don't know if Gardner Minshew in a playoff environment is what I want.
Yeah, that has high variance written all over it.
So much high variance. So high variance. I want the Texans in because
absolutely.
I want to see a healthy Stroud and Nico Collins and that defense that is getting a lot better in the playoffs. Of course, we talked about the Bills, but I love this. This season's great because there's so many things that can happen as we come down to the wire that I think it makes it really fun, and the potential matchups can be really fun.
I think for me, the perfect outcome would be we get all of like Miami gets in, the Bills get in, the Texans get in, and then Cleveland's still going to hold that top wild card spot. But if there's a way that all 4 of them can get in, where we get Dolphins, Browns wild card weekend, or how like if we get Bills, Dolphins 3 in wild card weekend, and they play each other in back-to-back weeks, and then we see like Jaguars, Browns 2, or if we get a third matchup between Baltimore and Cleveland, like, there's a lot of different things that can happen. If we can see Chiefs Texans, I think that would be pretty cool to see a Bobby Slowick offense go up against this Chiefs defense that's been awesome this year. got a lot of underrated names on that Chiefs defense too. Your guy Mike Dana, I love me some Mike Dana. He's
Love
had a
Mike Dana.
fantastic year. 6.5 sacks on the year. Guys like Drew Tranquil have really stepped up. They have some decisions to make this offseason as well, because I do believe Snead's going to be a free agent. So they got to figure out what they're going to do there. But he's been good. Chris Jones, obviously, they got to figure out what they're going to do with him. Trent McDuffie's been really good. Justin Reed, like I don't see a glaring hole on their defense, which is as good a thing as you can have as a defense. Like I don't think they have, outside of Chris Jones, obviously, they don't have like too many superstars, I would say, on that side of the ball, but they got a ton of young guys who came to play last year and have gotten better. You guys like Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, Karl Loftus, Leo Chenal, like they're deep, and to have no holes and to be as deep as they are, that is what you need in January. And even if we pointed out their pass catches are less than par, the defense has more than made up and has really carried them this year in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's been one of those years where I think I wrote about earlier in the season. This feels like an inverted Chiefs year from last year, where the offense was flying high, defense was struggling to figure it out, but then the young guys grew up right before playoff time. You're hoping that happens for the Chiefs again. Like Rashee Rice is playing amazing, but it might not be enough. But this defense deserves a lot of credit for keeping them in games, winning them games. Steve Spagnuolo has done a fantastic job. And it's kind of a reflection of how good they've drafted. Like most of those guys are homegrown guys, So it's been really cool to see that defense grow, see them play when they're healthy. I want to see a Chiefs defense and Patrick Mahomes get as far as possible, because again, it's the one game sample size where if you give Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes 2 weeks to prepare for what they're going to see, I wouldn't want to face that team.
I don't think anybody would. And had a thought in my in terms of like what Mahomes has done, he's had to somewhat change the way he approaches games too, because obviously we know that he's capable of doing the crazy shit and launching it 70 yards. We saw that early in his career. The past 2 years, though, we've seen him as more of like the Joe Burrow prototype, where it's just concise. It's picking you apart. It's death by 1,000 cuts rather than death by, a gunshot to the face, where instead of a 70-yard bomb, it's a 12-yard completion. It's a 9-yard completion. It's a 6-yard completion. It's, not trying to make, the tight throw into double coverage, even though you might be able to do it. Okay, let's, I'm throwing to Sky Moore, not Tyreek Hill anymore. It's going to be, there's less room for error there. And I think that his emergence of, not necessarily emergence, because I think he's always had it, but his ability to recognize that and be like, all right, I have to be the mathematician, Patrick Mahomes, not, the guy with the rocket arm. I can still be that, and I still am that, but right now we got to play with what we have. And he's been able to do that as well as he possibly can.
Not only that, but they flipped that in a year.
Yeah.
Like they turned that from a running, like a chuck it deep offense, and then in 2020, and then in 2021, they flipped it. Or not in 2021, but in 2022, they flipped it from 2021 when they lost to the Bengals in the AFC Championship game. They flipped that in a year. Like that, they deserve so much credit. Andy Reid deserves so much credit. Patrick Mahomes, they turned that offense from one of the most efficient downfield offenses to one of the most efficient offenses ever. Like last year's offense was one of the most efficient offenses the modern NFL has seen. This year, it's been a struggle, but at the same time, Patrick Mahomes is still a top 5 quarterback by any advanced metric you want to look at, and he's still the best quarterback in the league. I think he's not going to win MVP, of course not, because voter fatigue. He's going to get LeBron, where
Michael Jordan a little bit.
Yeah, he's going to get LeBron a little bit, where it's like, there's always Mahomes. We can give it to Mahomes because he's always going to consistently be that guy. He's consistently the best quarterback in the league. But what he's done to this point has been very, very impressive.
Very much agreed. All right, before we get out of here, we always do a draft of some sort. And it's Christmas season. Christmas is in 6 days. Merry Christmas, everybody, by the way. JP and I are going to draft Christmas movies. Now, JP and I did, what did we do? We did Disney movies before a few months ago. We did Thanksgiving food the week of Thanksgiving. And now, Christmas time. Be it that you were the guest, as always, you can go first. And then we'll do 5 picks apiece. And we'll see who comes out the victor. And of course, I'll tweet out a graphic of this afterwards and see who the big winner is. But your first Christmas movie, my friend.
My first Christmas movie is going to be my favorite Christmas movie. I am going Elf.
Okay, that's always a solid pick.
Like it's not a. I think it's a really, really good first round pick. I think it's great at this spot. You know, you're getting a Pro Bowl, All Pro caliber player right here in your first round.
Yeah, no, that's the one that's always reliable. It's always like it's a good comfort movie. Trying to think of like what player Elf would be. Like, would Elf be like? Elf is Travis Kelce. It's always there. You know, it's always going to produce. You know, you always got that safety blanket.
I was thinking it's Tristan Wirfs.
You were going left tackle? Okay.
It's not like, I'm sure people will say it's their favorite Christmas movie and you're going, oh, that's boring. But no, it's just consistently a great movie.
I like your comp a lot better than mine. That's good. That's good. Okay. Mine will also be a very good, like, no one's ever going to like say, oh, that's, yeah. I'm going to say Home Alone. It is, I wish you could bunch both of them together because they're practically the same movie with slight differences to be able to make an excuse to make a second movie. But yeah, man, that's my comfort Christmas movie. I'll watch it. I'll probably turn it on tonight. It's just a fun story. Just perfect, man. It just makes you feel good at the end when, you know, the old man across the street reunites with his son and granddaughter. That always gets me, nice happy endings. And Kevin McAllister is just a great character. And I feel like we don't address this enough, by the way. How can a kid who's like freaking out about packing a suitcase come up with like all these death traps in a span of like, what, 2 days that he's home by himself?
My question is, how can the dad afford a trip to Paris with 9 children?
Is mafia. I cave into that theory, by the way. Like the fan theory that the father is like in the mafia. Absolutely. Chicago mob, man.
100%. There's no way he's able to afford that. And then just they're terrible parents, first of all.
Oh yeah.
What are you doing? Saying, oh, we forgot a child. How? Like, how do you just forget a child at home?
They're even worse in the second movie because like when Kevin turns around and like punches Buzz and everybody collapse, like they don't give Buzz any sort of shit for it. But Kevin got flagged for retaliation. You know, that's I don't like it.
That's being a sibling, you know.
I guess so. I was the oldest amongst my sisters, though, of my mom's children. I got 2 older sisters that are my dad's, but like I was the oldest in the house, so like I don't know. I don't think I was ever like a Buzz, though. You know what I mean?
I'm the oldest. I never was a Buzz, but there was also like whoever gets caught, you know, like if you're caught throwing the punch, then you're gonna get caught regardless. No matter how the fight started, as soon as the ref sees it, you're getting caught.
Fair enough. All right, your second round pick.
My second round pick is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Fuck.
I love that movie because it is
so quotable, man.
It's so quotable. It's so emblematic of a big, chaotic family that all comes around at Christmas time. And I have a big family that all comes around at Christmas time. We meet up at my grandparents' house in Gainesville. There's just so much going on. There's so many cars parked in the parking lot. So National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation reminds me of my family getting together for Christmas.
Relatability always makes a movie that much more, especially like a Christmas movie. So yeah, there's so many. I could watch his rant, Clark Griswold's rant at the end of that movie and always laugh. It is such a fun, goofy, just you slowly watch this man go insane because he just wants to have a nice Christmas. Everything just keeps getting fucked up. So all for it, man. Great movie. My second pick is going to be A Muppet Christmas Carol.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
They couldn't have got the casting better for Scrooge than going with Michael Caine. He's a fantastic Scrooge, and it's the Muppets. The Muppets are always great. I also love, by the way, how in the opening credits they they're listing. It's like, oh, Michael Caine is Scrooge, and then it's Kermit the Frog as Bob Cratchit. That always makes me laugh that they're giving like a puppet like screen credits. That just always makes me laugh. But I think that their adaptation of it is very very well done. The music and the songs in the movie are all really good. Um, yeah, it's a perfect telling of a story that every sort of like how do I it's been done by everybody, and I think that theirs is the best.
It definitely it's fun for all ages type of movie.
Yes.
Like everybody can come in and watch. So I definitely really like that one. That's a good pick.
All right, I appreciate that. I'm glad to have your approval. All right, round number 3.
I'm going with A Christmas Story. Again,
Such a good one.
So quotable. My mom quotes the "You'll shoot your eye out" all the time. The "Fragile," it must be Italian. We just quote that movie around Christmas time. It's a classic. It's extremely quotable. I'm going with that one for my third round pick.
All right, I can get behind that. I love that movie, and it's the only movie that like I love, but like I hate almost every character in it at some point in the movie. Like I love the dad. The dad is perfect. The mom I enjoy for the most part, but like I think Randy might be the most annoying fictional character in the history of cinema. Ralph has his moments where I'm just like, all right, he cries a lot in the movie. I'm just like, all right, dude, come on.
He's 8.
I don't know. I think
He's
that
a child.
I think it's time to grow up a little bit. His friend, like the bullies, was it Scott Farkas and what the hell's the other one's name? Grover Dill. I remember. Don't worry. They're a lot. I was when Ralph beats the hell out of Farkas. That's a pretty good scene. He cries at the end of that too. God, he cries a lot in that movie. The movie's just like 8% crying.
When one of his friends got their tongue stuck on the pole.
Yeah.
Iconic scene.
My third round pick, so I feel like in both of our drafts so far, like we've had like the obvious ones that we both love and that everybody loves, and then like ones that are like close to us that might not be drafted by anybody else, but they have sentimental value. And so I'm gonna go with a sentimental value pick here. And if you haven't seen it, you're a Disney guy too, so I think that you will love it if you haven't seen it. I'm taking Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas.
Yep, I was gonna pick that.
Dude, it is so great. And I've watched it 20 times a year since I was like 5. So like it will be on today, it'll be on tomorrow. I could probably quote it by heart at this point. And for anybody who hasn't seen it, it's 3 different stories. They're about 20 minutes long a piece. And they're all great. Donald has one with Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and Goofy and Max have their own, and then Mickey and Minnie have their one at the end. They're all perfect. I love that movie so much. There's no notes. It is perfectly well done. They made Twice Upon a Christmas. I didn't like that one as much. I think mostly because of the animation style. I just like that 90s Disney animation style better. But yeah, perfect movie.
I'm gonna watch that now. I'm gonna go watch that. Like I'm like, dang, I want
to
go
Disney
see
Plus.
That. Yep, it's there. I keep seeing it in the ads. I'm like, okay, it's that time. Oh right. Man, got two more rounds, and I got a few more movies that I really, really want. But I'm gonna go again. I'm gonna go the classic route. Charlie Brown Christmas.
Oh, good one. Very good one.
Well, Charlie Brown Christmas. Also some sentimental value. So my sister used to do a lot of plays. She's in the theater, and one year she and my brother were in the local Charlie Brown Christmas play. And my sister, one of her, I think she only had like one line in the movie, but the line was, "Boy, are you stupid, Charlie Brown." And I just remember her practicing that for months, and I loved it. It has one of the best like soundtracks for a movie, like a themey movie,
right,
of all time. Like you can just run the Charlie Brown Christmas soundtrack all the way through, and just cool. You're setting up the tree. you're watching a movie, you're drinking hot chocolate, you're wrapping gifts, put on the Charlie Brown soundtrack. It has a lot of sentimental value. It's one of my favorite Christmas movies. I'm definitely gonna pick this one here.
All right, that's a very good pick. Now the ones that I'm down to next, none of them are going to be bad. I'm just deciding which one is better in my head, and I think I'm going to go with the second one in my head. I'm going to take the Santa Claus 2 over the Santa Claus 1.
Oh,
I love the Santa Claus 2, man. The Santa Claus 1's great. I just watched it the other night, but the second one I really enjoy. I think that the desantification process is funny. Like when Scott's like losing his Santa because he has to get married. I think that the characters, like seeing Charlie grown up and Lucy, I think is a really good side character. Neil and Laura. Neil's hilarious, by the way. I think Neil's one of the most underappreciated characters in the history of Christmas movies. He's fucking hilarious. He's just a dweeb and he's funny. So it's a really good cast. I think the character arc of Carol Newman, the principal, going from just angry kind of humbug because of how Christmas was for her as a kid to marrying Santa, I think it's really cool. So I'll take the Santa Claus 2 over the Santa Claus 1.
See, I think I like the Santa Claus 1 more than 2, but I'm cool with like either or. Like they're kind of interchangeable. But I remember watching those movies growing up as a kid. Dude. It's classic.
Definitely one of the better like 1-2 movies in terms of movies, where some sequels stink, but that one doesn't.
So last pick, I'm stuck between a few, and they're kind of divisive in which some people don't like them, but some people love them.
Okay, I'm excited now.
I'm going to go with the Jim Carrey How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
That is one of the most quotable movies I've ever seen. It's just perfect.
When he's like going through like his daily, like, all right, what you do today?
Yep.
Loathe and shelf pity. All right. It's just like stuff like that's funny.
And like when he's getting dressed for to go.
Yeah.
It's just it's so goofy. Like Jim Carrey is so good at being the Grinch that I always associated Jim Carrey with the Grinch. Whenever our family watches How the Grinch Stole Christmas, it's the Jim Carrey version. Like it's not the animated version, which is great, and it's not the Benedict Cumberbatch version, which is also very good. It's the Jim Carrey one that we always go to first.
I like it. All right. I don't know what to do for my last pick. I have one in mind. I mean, I could just go Santa Claus 1 if I really wanted to, I guess. It's down to that, and I could go Home Alone 2. I was looking at my list that I made right now and just deciding what I need. I could go with another sentimental value one that probably only I will pop for, but I can also just talk about that in the post after we do the draft. So I will play it safe, and I'll just take Home Alone 2 in addition to having Home Alone 1.
So we could do like a priority UDFA.
That's cool. We'll do that. Yes. Okay. Good call by you.
Because I have one movie in mind that I really, really don't want to leave out. My priority UDFA is the Polar Express. I love the Polar Express.
That was going to be my primary UDFA.
I love the Polar Express, man. The hot chocolate scene,
dude, one of the best Christmas songs ever.
The dude drifted a train on ice. Like that's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And then, like you said, one of the best Christmas songs ever.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just one of the best kids Christmas movies. Because like I think it's kind of divisive a little bit because now people are like, I don't know if the Polar Express is actually that good. Like, no, man, great. This is amazing. Like I will watch Polar Express every Christmas. And evidently so will the University of Arkansas because they had a player watching the Polar Express during halftime of their loss to Auburn this year.
Wow. I wasn't aware of that. That's pretty fun.
Oh, Sam Pittman had to answer for it at the press conference because they lost the game 48-10. And it was really bad at halftime. So The players
Just
just
pops in the Polar Express.
it wasn't even like it was on streaming or anything. He just went to cable television and the Polar Express was on and he stopped. And I'm like, hell yeah. I'd do that too.
I respect it. I respect it a lot. That was definitely going to be in the running for my UDFA. So I think at this point, I'm just going to take one that many people might not have seen, but you should go out of your way to see it. It's like a 40-minute. I think it's not quite like long enough to be feature length, but it's you can find it. It's on Tubi if you have Tubi, and if you don't, it's free. It's called How Murray Saved Christmas. So it's an animated one. Jerry Stiller, the late Jerry Stiller, plays the main character. There's a bunch of other Jason Alexander also voices a character, but all of like the holiday fictional characters live in a town called Stinky Cigars, and they have a whole anthem and everything. There's a lot of like really funny musical numbers in it. But there's an elf who accidentally knocks out Santa with a toy he made. And so Murray, he's a deli owner. He has to like become Santa for the night and deliver presents. And it's a really fun movie. My other choice is going to be Klaus. If anybody hasn't seen Klaus, that is also a very good movie. I think it's still on Netflix. It's like a Santa origin story. You should go watch that. The ending made me cry the first time I saw it. Oh, it's a beautiful movie. But I'll say Murray just because not a lot of people have seen it.
There's so many good Christmas movies that like.
Are you a Hallmark Christmas guy? I can't get into that. I think
I will watch one Hallmark Christmas movie a year.
Okay.
It won't
Is
be like
your lady friend into them?
Kinda. She kinda is. So we'll watch if we stop on one. But there's so many. I think there's Fred Claus, where
I don't think I've ever seen Fred Claus.
I've seen bits and pieces, but I was like, oh, this is pretty fun. I love the old stop motion Christmas movies.
Okay, yeah, like the Rudolph ones and the Frosty. Okay.
The Year Without Santa Claus, my favorite stop motion one, where it's got the heat miser and the snow miser.
I haven't seen that.
Oh my goodness! I don't know if it's on streaming. It's so good.
Okay.
It's so good for being what? Let me see. I think it's Year Without Santa Claus. It's so good for being from 1974.
Okay, I can get behind that.
So that's one of my favorites. And then of course, like Disney has the Disney character Christmas movies, which are always good.
I'm trying to think of I'm sure there's other Disney Christmas things that I'm just forgetting, but I'm sure that there's a healthy dosage of them.
There's Prep and Landing was one of them that came out when I was in like middle school, high school, I think. Mickey's A Christmas Carol. I remember watching that.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yep, I watched that a lot.
Because it's got Mickey's nephews in it, because Mickey does not have a child.
Right.
Let's see, what are the other ones? Oh, you know what? I'm already mad at myself for leaving a pick out. Nightmare Before Christmas.
Never seen it.
It is the group of people who love Nightmare Before Christmas are so strong, and were also born from the years 1990 to 2004. Like that's a very strong group of people who love Nightmare Before Christmas. I think it's cool. I watch it at Halloween. I'm gonna watch it at Christmas. I'm not like, oh, it's the greatest movie ever, but I'm like, oh, this is cool.
Like, yeah, I feel like it's like too popular to be like a cult classic movie, but like the fans of it, like if you say, it's not my thing, or if like you say you've never seen it, they all like gasp. And
the fans are strong, and the merch is always out.
Yeah,
everywhere.
There's always a good collection of that. That is very true. I didn't think about that. The Winnie the Pooh, A Very Merry Pooh Year.
Oh yes,
too. That's a good one.
Love Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh smacks. That there's a scene, part of that movie where like each character is like becoming another character, and like Pooh's like depressed. He's basically Eeyore, and Eeyore's Pooh, and he's just like exuberantly happy, and it's just really funny. It's really cute. It's a good movie.
Pooh is one of my favorite Disney characters ever. I got to see him when my sister, my girlfriend, and my brother went to Epcot for my sister's birthday, and we got to see Winnie the Pooh with his little butterfly catcher running around catching butterflies. It was the greatest thing ever.
I'm sure it was. like I said, I've only been to Disney once, and it was not a fun time for me. I'd give it a second try if it was planned right with the right people, not in July. Um, I would definitely give it another time.
And bring comfortable shoes because you're gonna be walking.
Right.
A lot of walking.
Absolutely. Well, my friend, I appreciate you joining me as always. Merry Christmas. I hope you have a good one. And we'll be talking soon, whether it be on Chase's Pod, on here. What do you got coming on SB Nation before we go?
So I had a story go out today about how motion has impacted the NFL this year and how 3 teams specifically use motion from the same tree. 3 teams from the same tree use motion, but in different ways to fit their personnel. Going to be ramping up NFL draft work. Got established a fund every Friday, but follow along on Twitter, on Thread, see what I'm doing, watch where I'm going, because we got some pretty fun stuff coming up.
And for me, I did a story on Touchdown Wire for USA Today about the Chargers and why head coaching candidates might not be tripping over each other to race for that job this coming off season, as well as power rankings over there as well. George Pickens also called out the media today, so I did a quick write-up on that. You can go read that at Behind the Steel Curtain if you haven't seen it all over Twitter yet. Crazy times here in Pittsburgh. We've got snow. There's snow on the ground outside right now. So, yeah, really getting in the Christmas spirit. But go check out all of that. Thanks for everybody for listening and tuning in, watching, however you did it. We'll be back, if not this week, then after Christmas. Merry Christmas to everybody. Thanks for tuning into the Pump Fake.